The jungle is never silent. Even in the deepest hours of the night, when darkness blankets the forests of Central America like a heavy, breathing shroud, the air vibrates with life. Insects hum in waves, birds call from unseen branches, and howler monkeys echo across the canopy like ancient sentinels. Beneath this dense living green lie the ruins of cities that once rivaled the greatest capitals of the ancient world. Cities of soaring pyramids, expansive plazas, and monumental palaces. Cities where priests studied the movement of stars, scribes carved dynasties into stone, and kings ruled over powerful lineages. For more than 2,000 years, the Maya built one of the most extraordinary civilizations humanity has ever known, in one of the most difficult environments imaginable. Unlike the fertile river valleys that nourished Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Maya homeland offered few natural advantages. There were no great rivers to guide agriculture. The soil was rocky limestone, thin and easily leached by torrential rains. Long dry seasons could wipe out crops, and the dense rainforest made expansion difficult. Yet, against all odds, the Maya transformed this harsh land into the heart of a flourishing civilization. To understand their rise, we must travel back nearly 4,000 years. Long before the famous cities like Tikal, Copan, and Palenque rose above the jungle canopy, small farming communities dotted the tropical lowlands of southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador. These early settlers were pioneers of the forest. They learned to cultivate maize, the crop that became the foundation of Maya life. Corn was more than food, it was identity. According to Maya mythology, humans were fashioned from maize dough by the gods themselves. Farming in the jungle demanded ingenuity for water storage from cenotes. Heavy rains washed nutrients from the soil, and dry spells could destroy entire harvests. The Maya developed clever agricultural strategies, planting maize alongside beans and squash, the three sisters. Beans restored nitrogen to the soil, maize acted as a support for climbing vines, and squash covered the ground to protect the soil. Over generations, these villages expanded, forming trade routes, and small cultural connections began to emerge. Pottery styles, ritual practices, and architectural techniques spread across regions, laying the foundations of a shared civilization. By 1000 BCE, a dramatic transformation began. Villages expanded into complex settlements. Buildings were no longer simple huts but raised stone platforms and ceremonial structures. Social hierarchies emerged, and elites began to control trade, ritual authority, and political power. Archaeologists call this era the pre-classic period, but the scale of innovation was staggering. By 600 BCE, ceremonial complexes and stone pyramids were rising above the jungle. Cities like El Mirador in Guatemala contained enormous structures such as the La Danta Pyramid, one of the largest ever built by volume anywhere on Earth. Imagine an immense city, shrouded in mist, rising from the jungle canopy, with pyramids towering above the trees like artificial mountains. This was the ambition of the early Maya. But architecture was only one aspect of their genius. The Maya developed one of the most sophisticated writing systems in the ancient world. Hundreds of glyphs could represent sounds, words, and ideas. Scribes recorded royal lineages, political alliances, wars, and mythological stories. For centuries, these inscriptions remained a mystery until the late 20th century when researchers finally began deciphering them. The Maya were never a single empire. They were a constellation of city-states, each with its own ruler, its own dynasties, and its own ambitions. Cities such as Tikal, Calakmul, Copan, and Palenque competed for power, forming alliances and waging wars that could stretch over decades. The king, or Ajor, was central to Maya society, seen as a bridge between the human world and the divine. Through ritual, offerings, and ceremonies, the king maintained balance between mortals and gods. Bloodletting was one of the most sacred practices. Royal family members pierced their tongues, ears, or genitals with obsidian blades or stingray spines. The spilled blood, burned to release smoke, was thought to nourish the gods and sustain the universe. War, ritual, and sport were often intertwined. Maya kings and city-states waged frequent conflicts. Cities built fortifications, carved victory stelae, and recorded triumphs in stone. Warriors fought with obsidian-edged weapons, spears, and slings, while captives were often taken to be sacrificed in rituals that reinforced both religious and political authority. These human sacrifices were brutal, yet culturally central. They were believed to feed the gods, maintain cosmic balance, and display the ruler's power. One of the most remarkable and mysterious aspects of Maya culture was the bull game. Played in massive stone courts, this wasn't just sport, it was a ritual spectacle. Teams hurled a heavy rubber ball with their hips, elbows, or knees, trying to pass it through a stone hoop set high on the wall. The stakes were immense. Losers, and sometimes winners, could be sacrificed, their death honoring the gods and demonstrating the cosmic struggle between life and death. The bull game was as much theater and religion as it was competition, a vivid expression of Maya beliefs and society. By the 1st century CE, the Maya entered the Classic period. Cities flourished across the lowlands, monumental architecture reached new heights, and population soared into the millions. Tikal, a superpower of the era, had towering temples rising over 60 meters above the jungle canopy. From these temples, rulers observed bustling cities filled with artisans, merchants, farmers, and priests. Its greatest rival was the mighty city of Calakmul. For centuries, these two superpowers competed for dominance across the Maya world, forming alliances with smaller cities and waging long cycles of political rivalry. These were not primitive settlements hidden in the jungle. They were thriving urban centers. The Maya were also master engineers. They built causeways connecting cities, reservoirs to store water, and intricate agricultural terraces to maximize crop yields. Trade networks spanned the region, transporting obsidian for tools, jade for ornamentation, cacao for sacred drinks, and feathers for royal ceremonies. Without metal tools or pack animals, the Maya relied on human ingenuity to maintain this complex economy. Their intellectual achievements extended to astronomy. Priests and scribes tracked solar cycles, lunar phases, and the movement of planets with astonishing accuracy. Venus, in particular, guided warfare, ceremonies, and religious rituals. The Maya long count calendar measured time across millennia, embedding history into cycles of creation and destruction. By the 7th century, the Maya had reached their zenith. Cities dominated vast regions, royal dynasties commissioned monumental art and architecture, and complex trade networks connected every corner of Mesoamerica. Yet, even at their peak, cracks were forming. Population growth stressed agricultural systems, and constant rivalries between city-states fueled cycles of conflict. Then, beginning in the 8th and 9th centuries, prolonged drought struck the southern lowlands. Crops failed, reservoirs dried, and famine spread. Without reliable food supplies, cities faltered. Political authority fractured as kings failed to maintain prosperity. Wars intensified, defensive walls were built, and violent conflicts left scars that archaeology still reveals today. Amidst this turmoil, the once celebrated cities began to fall silent. Tikal emptied. Copan declined. Palenque was abandoned. Monuments ceased to be carved. Temples were overtaken by the encroaching jungle. The great urban centers of the classic Maya world faded in a few generations. But the Maya people did not vanish. They adapted. Many migrated northward into the Yucatan Peninsula, where new centers of power emerged, including cities like Chichen Itza. Trade routes shifted, political systems evolved, and culture blended with other Mesoamerican influences. By 1200 CE, the civilization transformed rather than collapsing overnight. And yet, the story of the Maya is not simply one of rise and fall. Their descendants still live in Mexico and Central America today. Millions of people continue to speak Maya languages, maintain traditional ceremonies, and preserve cultural practices that stretch back thousands of years. The pyramids of Tikal, Chichen Itza, and Tulum still rise above the jungle and coastline, testaments to human ingenuity, resilience, and belief. The Maya endured, adapted, and survived long after the collapse of their monumental cities. Their art, knowledge, and traditions have left an indelible mark on the world. Their civilization rose from the dense forests, mastered agriculture, astronomy, warfare, and religion, and endured against environmental and human challenges like water storage that would have destroyed lesser societies. It is a story of human ingenuity, of ambition, of cosmic devotion, and of survival. The jungle may seem silent, but the echoes of the Maya are everywhere, in every carved glyph, every ancient bulkhead, every ruin reclaimed by the forest. They remind us that civilizations are living, breathing entities. And even when the cities fall, the people endure.